My brother paid $15,000 for a fake video of me cheating on my girlfriend. I lost my job, my family, and 5 years of my life. But when the truth came out, he was destroyed, and I built the life he never saw coming. I'm 28 years old. I own a gym in Portland with my business partner, Evan. I'm married to the most incredible woman in the world. I have 3-year-old twins and another baby on the way. And about 6 months ago, I found out that my entire previous life was destroyed by a lie that cost $15,000. $15,000. I mean, that was literally the amount my older brother paid to ruin my existence. And the crazy thing is that for 5 years I didn't even know it was him. I just thought I was the most unfortunate person on the planet, and that my life had gone to shit through pure bad luck. I guess I should start at the beginning, when we were kids. My brother Harrison, 2 years older than me, was always the family's golden child, the one who did everything perfectly. He got the best grades, played soccer, was popular, had that charisma that makes adults automatically love him. I was more normal, let's say, not a bad student, but not exceptional either, more focused on my friends and having fun than impressing anyone. My parents never said it directly, but it was obvious Harrison was their favorite. Like when he won an award, it was a family celebration with a special dinner and everything. When I accomplished something, it was like, "Oh, that's nice, son. Pass me the salt." Don't get me wrong. It's not like they hated me or anything. It's just that Harrison shone brighter and I was like the shadow next to him. We grew up like that, with that weird dynamic where I was always trying to catch up to him but never made it. And eventually, I just accepted that was my role in the family. Harrison went to a prestigious university on a full scholarship, studied finance, got an incredible job at an investment firm. I went to a state university, studied marketing, and got a decent job at a mid-sized company doing digital campaigns. It wasn't Wall Street, but it paid well, and I liked what I did. I could afford a small apartment in the city and live comfortably. Basically, I was happy with my life. In 2018, when I was like 23 years old, I met Kimberly at the company's annual picnic. She worked in human resources for another division, and honestly, it was one of those instant connections that only happen in movies, We started talking by the burger table and literally stayed there chatting for 3 hours straight without realizing everyone else had already left. She was smart, funny, had that laugh that made you want to tell bad jokes just to hear it. And besides, she was beautiful. Like really beautiful with that long brown hair and green eyes that left you speechless. We started dating that same week, and basically it was perfect from the start. No drama or red flags, just two people who fit well together and had an amazing time. By 2019, we were already living together in a bigger apartment, splitting the rent, talking about future plans, all that stuff. I was 24 years old and genuinely thought this was the woman I was going to marry, which was weird for me because I'd never been one of those people who plan the future like that. But with Kimberly, everything felt natural and right. My parents met her a couple of times and obviously loved her. Harrison also met her at a family dinner and was polite and all. Although in retrospect, I should have noticed how he looked at her. But anyway, the point is that my life was in a good place, better than it had ever been. Things started getting weird in early 2020, right before the whole world became chaos. Harrison, who lived like 2 hours away from us and almost never visited because he was super busy with his important job, suddenly started showing up more often. At first, I thought he was being a good brother, like trying to reconnect and stuff. He'd invite me to lunch, drop by the apartment unannounced, always with some excuse that he was in the area for work. Kimberly was always there when he arrived, because we were working from home already due to the pandemic, and I noticed that Harrison made an extra effort to be charming with her, making her laugh, asking about her work, that kind of thing. I mentioned it once casually, like, "Hey, it's weird that Harrison is being so friendly with your girlfriend." And Kimberly laughed and said I was being paranoid, that he was just being polite. And I thought, well, yeah, I'm probably right that I'm overreacting. In March 2020, I had to go to Seattle for a marketing conference that was important for my career, 3 days of workshops and networking. I asked Kimberly to come with me, literally begged her because I didn't want to go alone, but she had to stay because she was in the middle of a big project at work and couldn't ask for days off. I left Wednesday morning. The conference went well. I stayed in a terrible corporate hotel with those rough sheets and bad Wi-Fi. Attended all the sessions, Had dinner alone watching Netflix on my laptop. Came back Friday afternoon. Normal, boring, exactly what you'd expect from a work trip. I got to the apartment around 6 in the evening on Friday, tired and ready to hug my girlfriend and order Chinese food. But when I opened the door, Kimberly was sitting on the couch with a face I'd never seen on her, like between absolute fury and disgust. She had her laptop open, and when she saw me come in, the first thing she said was, "Don't even look at me, don't you dare talk to me." I stood there with my suitcase in hand, completely confused, and I asked her what was wrong, if she was okay, if something happened with her family, and she just said, "Come see this," with a voice so cold it gave me chills. I sat next to her, well, not next to her, but like half a meter away because she signaled for me not to get close, and she showed me a video on her laptop. It was hotel security footage, you know, those hallway cameras that are black and white and kind of blurry. And you could clearly see someone who looked exactly like me, wearing the same blue jacket I had taken to Seattle, walking down a hotel hallway with a woman who definitely wasn't Kimberly, kissing her, going into a room with her. The timestamp said Thursday at 11:47 p.m., the night before, while I was supposedly in Seattle. I felt like someone had kicked me in the stomach, literally couldn't breathe well, and the first thing I said was, "That's not me. Kimberly, that's not me. That's my jacket, but that's not me." She exploded, started screaming, how dare I lie to her, that it was obvious it was me, that the jacket was the same, that my face was the same, that clearly I had been cheating on her all this time, and I was a lying piece of shit. I tried to explain to her that I was in Seattle, that I had receipts, that I could show her the charges on my credit card from the hotel in Seattle, that this didn't make any sense, but she wouldn't let me talk, just screamed and cried and told me to get out of the apartment. I begged her to listen to me, showed her my phone, with the photos I'd taken at the conference with timestamps, with my active location in Seattle those days, showed her the Uber receipts from the airport, showed her everything I could think of to prove I hadn't been in any hotel with any woman. But it didn't matter. She was convinced the video was real, and I was a liar. The thing is, the video looked real. Not like those obviously fake videos you see on the internet, but professional, with correct angles, correct lighting, natural movements. I didn't know how to explain it because I knew it wasn't me, but it looked exactly like me, and Kimberly kept screaming until she finally said that if I didn't leave voluntarily, she was going to call the police. I grabbed some things, went to a cheap hotel that night, and spent the whole night awake trying to understand what the hell had happened, if someone had cloned me or if I was in a simulation or what, because none of it made sense. The weekend was an absolute nightmare. Kimberly wasn't answering my calls or messages, changed the locks on the apartment that was technically both of ours but was under her name, and when I tried to go talk to her on Sunday, her brother met me at the door and basically threatened to hit me if I didn't leave. By Monday, the video had already circulated among our mutual friends because Kimberly had shown it to her best friend looking for support, and that friend showed it to other people. And basically within 48 hours, my entire social life knew that supposedly I had cheated on my girlfriend in Seattle. People were sending me messages asking how I could do that, calling me trash, leaving me on read when I tried to explain it wasn't me, that it was some kind of fake video. But nobody believed me because the video looked too real. By Wednesday, my boss called me into his office and told me they had to let me go because the video had reached human resources. Someone had shared it on the company Slack, and although technically I hadn't violated any company policy, the environment had become very uncomfortable, and they preferred I leave. They gave me 2 weeks severance, like thanks for your service. We loved working with you, but we need you to pack your things today. I tried to explain to them that the video was fake, that I had proof I was in Seattle. But the HR manager just said they understood my position, but the decision was already made and it was better for everyone if I left without making a scene. I called my parents desperately, thinking at least they would believe me because I'm their son and they know me. But when I told them what happened and sent them the video, my mom went silent for a long while and then said, "Logan, honey, that video looks very real. Are you sure something didn't happen that you don't remember?" As if it were possible not to remember being in a completely different hotel with a completely different woman. My dad was more direct, basically told me he was very disappointed in me, that Kimberly was A good girl. And how could I do that to her? And when I tried to insist it wasn't me, he told me to stop lying because it made everything worse. I hung up on them and sat in that cheap weekly rent hotel where I was living, surrounded by all my belongings in boxes, without a job, without a girlfriend, without an apartment, without family who believed me. And honestly, I thought my life had ended at 25 years old. Harrison called me like a week after all this, sounding super worried and understanding, telling me he'd heard what happened, and he was so sorry for what I was going through. He asked if I needed money borrowed, if I needed a place to stay, acting like the perfect older brother he'd always been for everyone except me. I told him no, that I was fine, that I just needed time to figure things out, and he said he understood. But if I changed my mind, he was there for me. Looking back now, that call makes me nauseous, like the son of a bitch was enjoying every second of my suffering, asking how I was when he knew perfectly well he'd paid to destroy my life. But at that moment, I didn't know any of that and just thought at least my brother still supported me. My friend Evan, who I met at the gym where I'd been training for years, was literally the only person who believed me when I told him everything. Evan was a CrossFit instructor, one of those guys who are all positive energy and loyalty, and when I showed him the video and all my proof that I was in Seattle, he immediately said, "Bro, that's a deepfake. It has to be a deepfake. Someone is screwing with your life on purpose." I didn't even really know what a deepfake was at that moment, like I'd heard the term but didn't understand the technology was that advanced. And Evan explained to me that with enough money and the right photos, you could make someone appear in any video doing anything. He suggested I go to the police, that I report someone had used my image without permission, but when I went to the station, cops basically told me there wasn't much they could do, because there was no way to prove the video was fake without an expensive forensic investigation, and that honestly it seemed more like a civil problem between couples than something criminal. Evan offered for me to move with him to Portland, where he was planning to relocate to open his own gym, and after thinking about it for like 2 weeks, I said yes, because I had nothing left to lose. I sold my car, packed the little I had, said goodbye to the city where I'd grown up knowing I probably would never come back, and drove with Evan the 7 hours to Portland in his beat-up truck, listening to alternative rock and trying not to think about how my entire life had fallen apart in less than a month. We arrived in Portland on a Friday in April 2020, right when everything was closing due to the pandemic, and we moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in a kind of sketchy but cheap neighborhood where we could hear the neighbors arguing through the walls. The first months in Portland were horrible. I'm not going to lie. I couldn't get a job because every time someone Googled my name, references to the video came up. People had shared the story on Reddit and other places. Basically, my reputation was destroyed on the internet. Evan let me work at the gym where he taught classes, doing cleaning and maintenance, helping at reception, that kind of thing that didn't require work references. The pay was shit, but at least I could pay my part of rent and eat, although basically I lived on rice, beans, and whatever Evan shared with me because he earned a bit more. I became invisible, stopped using social media, stopped contacting people from my past, basically tried to disappear and start from scratch, even if that meant living like a ghost. About a year passed like that, working at the gym, training until exhausted so I wouldn't have to think, living day to day without any real plan for the future. Evan kept insisting we should open our own gym, that he knew about training and I knew about marketing, and together we could make something good. But I was so mentally down that I couldn't even imagine something like that. It was during that period when I met Nicole, a kindergarten teacher who trained at the gym where we worked and who was always kind to me, even when I was in a bad mood and being antisocial. She started staying after her sessions to talk to me while I cleaned the equipment, asking about my life casually, and I at first gave her short answers because I didn't want to involve anyone in my disaster. But she was persistent in a sweet way. Nicole was like 26 years old at that time, petite, with dark curly hair always in a ponytail, huge smile, that teacher energy that makes you feel like everything's going to be okay. It took like 3 months of casual conversations before I finally told her the whole story about the video, about Kimberly, about losing my job and my family, expecting her to run away or stop talking to me, but instead she listened without interrupting, and when I finished, she just said, "Wow, that's horrible. I'm so sorry. Do you want to go get coffee?" And that's how we started. in the most casual and organic way possible. No pressure or drama, just two people getting to know each other and enjoying being together. By the end of 2021, Nicole and I were officially together and living in her apartment, which was much nicer than the one I shared with Evan, and for the first time in like 2 years, I felt something close to happy. Evan and I finally opened our gym, using Evan's savings and a small business loan, a small but decent space in an area that was starting to gentrify. I handled all the marketing and social media, memberships, finances, while Evan designed the training programs and taught classes. It was slow at first, but we started growing. We got regular members, people recommended the place, and by 2022 we were even making real money. Enough for Evan to quit his other job and for me to pay my bills without stress. I married Nicole in the summer of 2022, a small wedding in her backyard with like 30 people, mostly her friends and some from the gym. Nobody from my family because I simply had no contact with them anymore. My parents had sent me a message like 6 months before, asking how I was, saying Harrison had told them I'd moved to Portland, but I responded with something curt and then blocked them because I didn't want anything to do with people who hadn't believed me when I needed them most. Nicole understood, never pressured me to contact them or forgive them, just supported me in whatever I needed, and that's something I'll always love about her. The twins were born in March 2023, Ben and Sarah, and brother. When I say those kids gave my life a completely new purpose, I'm not exaggerating. Suddenly, my whole past mattered less because I had this incredible future with 2 perfect babies and a wife who loved me and a business that was working and real friends who knew me as Logan the gym owner, not as Logan who supposedly cheated on his girlfriend. There were still days when I thought about everything I'd lost, about how my brother had abandoned me when he should have defended me, about how Kimberly had thrown me in the trash without giving me the benefit of the doubt, but each time those thoughts hurt less and lasted less time. Then came October 2024, about 6 months ago from today. I was at the gym on a Wednesday afternoon, reviewing new membership applications in my office while listening to music, when I got a message from Peter, a college friend I hadn't talked to since before the whole video situation. The message said, "Bro, you have to see this," with a link to an Instagram video. I opened the link without thinking much, and it was a video recorded in what looked like a bar, kind of blurry because obviously it was recorded with a cell phone. And there was my brother Harrison, clearly drunk, surrounded by a group of guys, who seemed to be his work friends, and he was telling a story. In the video, Harrison is laughing, with his shirt half unbuttoned and glassy eyes, and one of his friends asks him something you can't hear well, and Harrison says, "No, bro, the best part is, it cost me $15,000 for the best deepfake you've ever seen in your life. I had it made with a service I found on the dark web, gave them all the photos of my brother from his Facebook, gave them the type of video I wanted, and they delivered it to me in 2 weeks. Perfect, impeccable." And Kim believed it completely, never suspected anything. He laughs like it's the funniest thing in the world. And another friend says something like, "Bro, that's dark." And Harrison just says, "I had to do it, man. She was perfect and he didn't deserve her. Now we're together and the idiot is who knows where, probably on the street." And they all laugh with him like he just told the best joke. I sat staring at the video, without processing what I'd just seen. I had to watch it 3 more times because my brain couldn't accept what I was hearing. That my brother, my own blood brother, had paid $15,000 to destroy my life, to take my girlfriend from me, to make me lose my job and my family and everything I had, just because he wanted to be with Kimberly and couldn't accept that she had chosen me first. Peter sent me another message saying, "Bro, I always knew that video was fake. I'm sorry for not defending you more, but I thought you'd want to know the truth. Someone recorded this last night at a bar in the city, and it's already going viral. And yes, the video went viral within hours. Someone uploaded it to Twitter, someone else shared it on Reddit in my hometown subreddit. It started circulating in Facebook groups, and by the next day, it was everywhere, with titles like, 'Man confesses to paying for deepfake to steal brother's girlfriend,' and 'The truth behind the viral 2020 infidelity video.' My phone started exploding with messages from people I hadn't talked to in 5 years, all apologizing, saying they felt so bad for not believing me, that I was right that the video was fake, as if that fixed anything after all this time. My parents called me crying. My mom could barely speak properly. My dad kept saying, "I'm sorry, son. We're so sorry. We didn't know." Harrison deceived us all, and I just listened without saying much, because what could I say? Like, it's okay that you didn't believe me when I begged you to help me. Nicole was by my side during this call, holding my hand. And when my parents asked if they could see us, if they could meet their daughter-in-law and their grandchildren, I told them I needed time to process everything and that I'd contact them when I was ready, which honestly, I don't know if it will ever happen. The video of Harrison confessing ruined his life, just like his fake video ruined mine. He got fired from his job at the investment firm like 2 days later, because apparently publicly admitting you paid for a deepfake to destroy someone isn't a good look for a company that handles people's money. He lost his fancy apartment because he couldn't pay rent without his salary. He had to move in with our parents, who, from what I heard, accepted him. But the relationship is destroyed, because now they know their golden child is capable of doing something so twisted. His entire social circle abandoned him, his friends stopped talking to him, social media turned him into the villain of the month, and basically he experienced in weeks what took me years to overcome. But the weirdest thing was that Kimberly contacted me, like 3 weeks after everything came to light. She sent me a long email, like 5 pages, explaining how horrible she felt, that she had no words to apologize, that she'd been stupid for not believing me when I showed her all the proof, and that she understood if I hated her forever. She told me that after I left, Harrison showed up being all understanding and sweet, that they started dating like 2 months later, that they got married in 2022, that they had a son in 2023, a boy who's now like a year and a half old, but that Harrison had turned out to be a completely different person after getting married, controlling and manipulative, that work consumed him, that he barely saw her, and that when the video of his confession went viral, he simply left the house and hasn't come back, leaving her alone with the baby and no way to contact him. She asked me to talk, to give her the chance to explain herself better, that she knows she made a horrible mistake, but she deserved to let me know she was sorry. I showed Nicole the email and she told me it was my decision, but to think carefully about what I wanted to accomplish with that, if I really needed that closure or if I was just going to reopen wounds that had already healed. I thought about it for several days and finally responded with a short email saying, I accepted her apologies but had no interest in reestablishing contact, that I had built a new life and she wasn't part of that life, that I hoped things went well for her, but please don't contact me again. It was hard to write that, because part of me did want to scream at her everything she'd put me through, but the truth is, I didn't feel anything toward her anymore. Not hate or love or anything, just a neutral emptiness where there used to be something. For my nephew, Harrison and Kimberly's son, I opened a trust fund with $20,000. Nicole thought I was crazy. Like, why would you give money to the son of the man who destroyed your life? But I explained to her that the kid isn't to blame for who his parents are, that he didn't choose to be born into that mess, and that when he grows up, he's going to need help because his dad is a sociopath who abandoned him and his mom was left with nothing for marrying him. I put strict conditions on the fund. It can only be used for education or medical emergencies, can't be touched until he turns 18, and I specified that neither Kimberly nor Harrison can have access to the money under any circumstances. It's my way of sleeping well at night knowing I did something good for an innocent kid, but without having to involve him in my life in any way. Harrison tried to contact me once after everything exploded, sent me like 10 messages in a row from different numbers because I had him blocked, all saying the same thing, that he was sorry, that he was in a dark place when he did that the competition between us drove him crazy, that he'd always been envious of me, that please give him the chance to explain himself. I didn't respond to a single one, just deleted them all and continued with my life. Because what explanation could he give me that would justify what he did? Like, oh, sorry, brother. I just paid the equivalent of a used car to ruin your existence because I felt jealous. But we're family, so it's all good? No. There's no coming back from something like that. And honestly, I don't want there to be. My parents keep trying to fix things. They send me photos of the twins they find on Nicole's Facebook, which is public. They send me messages on birthdays and Christmas. They offer me money I don't need. They beg me to give them a chance. I responded once like 2 months ago, telling them that maybe someday we can talk, but I need them to understand They failed me in the most important moment of my life, that they chose to believe the video instead of believing me, their son, and that's not easily forgotten. My mom responded with another tearful message, and I stopped reading after the first line because I simply don't have the emotional energy to deal with that right now. Life in Portland is good, really good. The gym is growing. We're considering opening a second location next year. Evan and I work well together and are genuine best friends after everything we've been through. Nicole is pregnant, with our third child, a girl who's going to be born in April, and the twins are the best, although exhausting. Ben is already reading simple words and Sarah sings all day, songs she learns at daycare. We have a small house with a yard where the kids can play. A dog we adopted from the shelter named Max, Sunday family dinners. Normal and boring routines that make me incredibly happy, because for a long time, I thought I'd never have any of this. Sometimes I wonder what my life would have been like if the video had never happened, if Harrison hadn't been a psychopath, if Kimberly had believed me, if my parents had defended me. I'd probably still be in my hometown, married to Kimberly maybe, working in corporate marketing, seeing my parents on Sundays, living a completely different life. But honestly, I can't say I'd trade what I have now for that alternate version, because Nicole is 1,000 times better partner than Kimberly ever was. My kids are perfect, my business is mine, and I don't depend on any boss who can fire me over rumors, and the people in my life now are there because they genuinely care about me, not out of family obligation. Last week, Ben asked me why he didn't have grandparents like the other kids in his class, and I told him it's complicated, but maybe someday he'd meet them if things improve. Nicole looked at me with that face that means, "Are you sure about that?" And honestly, I'm not. I don't know if I'll ever be ready to let my parents into this part of my life after how they abandoned me. What I do know is I don't owe them anything. That the family I've built here, with Nicole and Evan and the friends from the gym and the neighbors who invite us to barbecues, is more real than anything I had before, and that's enough for now. Harrison is still living with our parents, from what I heard from Peter, who still sends me occasional updates, even though I don't ask for them. Apparently he's working at a call center or something like that, nothing like his previous life, no contact with his son, basically a social pariah in our hometown. Part of me feels something like pity when I think about that, like after all, he's still my brother even if he's a terrible brother. But then I remember he chose to destroy me without thinking twice, and any compassion evaporates. What happened to him was a direct consequence of his actions, and I have no obligation to feel anything about it. I'm in therapy now, something I started like a year ago, when Nicole noticed I was still having nightmares about everything that happened. The therapist tells me it's normal to have complicated feelings about the situation, that I don't have to forgive anyone if I don't want to, that building healthy boundaries is important, even if that means permanently cutting contact with biological family. It's helped me process the fact that it wasn't my fault, that there was nothing I could have done to prevent what Harrison did, that other people's decisions not to believe me say more about them than about me. I'm still working on that. There are still days when I feel angry or betrayed, when I think about how 5 years of my life were stolen by a $15,000 lie. But those days are fewer and fewer. Nicole asked me the other day if I'd ever thanked Harrison in some twisted way, because if he hadn't done what he did, I would never have met her or have our children, and I told her no. That I'll never thank that son of a bitch for anything, because his intentions were pure poison, and the fact that I managed to build something good from the ashes doesn't take away from the monstrosity of what he did. She laughed and said, "That's what I thought. Just wanted to make sure you weren't getting too zen, and that's another reason why I love her. Because she understands you can be grateful for your present life without forgiving the past that almost destroyed you." The fund for my nephew grows with compound interest. It'll probably have like 50,000 or more when he turns 18. If I keep making occasional deposits as I plan. Kimberly never contacted me again after my response, which is best for everyone. My old friends who sent me apologies after the truth came out gradually stopped writing when it became clear I wasn't going back to my previous life. And that's okay. Like, I don't blame them, but I don't need them either. The community I have in Portland is enough, more than enough. Yesterday, Sarah asked me if I was sad, because apparently I had a thoughtful face while we were making breakfast, and I told her, "No, sweetie. I was just thinking about adult things, nothing important." She hugged my legs and said, "I love you, Daddy," And that's all I need to know about whether I made the right decisions after everything fell apart. These moments, these real connections with people who love me without conditions, are worth more than any previous life I could have had with people who turned out to be capable of betraying me without blinking. I know what's going to happen with Harrison. If he'll ever rebuild his life, or if he'll stay in that limbo of consequences forever. I don't know if my parents will eventually understand why I can't just forgive and forget as if nothing happened. I don't know if someday I'll wake up without that small scar of mistrust that remained after the person who was supposed to be my brother stabbed me in the back in the most calculated way possible. But I do know that I'm okay, that my family is okay, that the gym is okay, and that the life I built from the ruins of the previous one is truly mine. Nobody can take it away from me with a fake video or lies because it's founded on real things and true relationships. I guess that's the moral, if there is one, that sometimes the worst thing that can happen to you ends up redirecting you toward the best life you could have, even though in the moment it feels like the end of the world and you can't imagine how you're going to move forward. I'm not grateful for what happened. I never will be, but I'm grateful for what I built afterward. And that distinction is important. Harrison paid $15,000 to destroy me, but all he managed to do was remove me from a mediocre life with people who weren't worth it and push me toward something much better, even though he'll never see it that way. Last night, Nicole and I were lying down after putting the twins to bed, her with her hand on her pregnant belly, and she said to me, "Do you ever think about contacting your brother?" And I answered honestly, "Sometimes I think about what that conversation would be like, what I'd say to him. But then I remember, there's nothing to say because there's no explanation I can accept. No apology that can erase 5 years of pain." She just nodded and kissed my forehead and said, "It's okay if you never want to see him again. I just wanted to make sure I support you no matter what. And that's exactly why it works. Because I don't have to justify my decisions or my boundaries. They simply exist and are respected. This story probably doesn't have the clean ending people expect, like where everyone reconciles and learns valuable lessons and sings songs together. Because real life doesn't work that way. Sometimes people you love betray you in unforgivable ways, and sometimes the right answer is to walk away and build something new with people who truly value you, not force a reconciliation over some abstract idea that family is sacred. My family is Nicole, it's my children, it's Evan, it's Max the dog, it's the community I chose, and that chose me back. Everything else is just people I share DNA with, and that doesn't mean I owe them my forgiveness or my presence.